Infidelity impacts millions of relationships around the globe, yet it remains a topic many prefer to avoid. It's a complicated and painful issue, and often, people avoid discussing it altogether. Hey there, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm so glad you're joining me today. Now, I know we're about to dive into a pretty tough topic, infidelity. But don't worry, I'm not just going to scratch the surface. Today, I'm going to challenge myself to get to the heart of why partners cheat, and trust me, it's not just about someone being bad or unfaithful. There's so much more to it, and understanding that could change the way we look at relationships. Infidelity is something that affects millions of relationships worldwide. But it's one of those topics people tend to sweep under the rug. It's messy, it's painful, and no one wants to talk about it until it's too late. But here's the thing. Infidelity can happen to anyone, no matter how perfect or strong their relationship may seem. And that's why we need to have this conversation. Today, we're not just looking at the cheating part. We're going to dig deeper into the real reasons why people cheat. Because understanding this is key to building stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling relationships, ones that can stand the test of time. Why we need to talk about infidelity. So why do we need to talk about infidelity? Well, first off, cheating is a major relationship killer. It's like a bomb that goes off, tearing apart trust, security, and connection. And trust is the glue that holds everything together. Once it's broken, it's incredibly hard to rebuild. But the worst part? Many of us never address the underlying issues that lead to infidelity in the first place. We avoid the uncomfortable conversations, hoping it'll go away. But guess what? It doesn't. We need to talk about infidelity, because when we do, we can begin to understand its roots. It's not about pointing fingers, it's about learning how to protect ourselves from the very things that put our relationships at risk. Understanding why it happens is the first step in stopping it. The complex reality of relationships. Now, relationships aren't easy. In fact, they can be downright difficult. They require consistent effort, communication, patience, and commitment. Every single day. And even when you think you've got it all figured out, life has a funny way of throwing curveballs. Emotions get tangled, desires shift, and expectations change. And let's face it, those moments when things get messy can leave us feeling disconnected from our partner. Here's the thing. Infidelity doesn't always start with someone just deciding to cheat. It starts in the little moments, the feelings of being unseen, unheard, or emotionally neglected. And before we know it, we find ourselves walking down a path that we never thought we'd take. Trust and loyalty. The cornerstones that can erode over time. Trust, loyalty, communication. These are the building blocks of any healthy relationship. They're what make us feel safe, loved, and secure. But here's the hard truth. Those very things can erode over time, especially if we're not putting in the work to nurture them. When trust breaks down, everything starts to crumble. It's like a slow leak in a boat. You might not notice it at first, but eventually, the whole thing is sinking. And loyalty? Well, when we feel like our partner isn't fully committed, doubts creep in. Maybe we feel like we're doing all the emotional heavy lifting, or we sense a distance growing that we don't know how to fix. But trust and loyalty are more than just about avoiding temptation. They're about feeling seen and valued by our partner every single day. When that's missing, we become vulnerable to the idea that someone else might fill that emotional gap. The hidden struggles that lead to infidelity. Let's talk about the hidden struggles. The things people don't often talk about, but that are so real in relationships. The number one thing I hear from people who have cheated is the feeling of emotional disconnection. When we stop feeling like we're a team, when we stop having those deep, intimate conversations, that's when the door cracks open for infidelity. And it's not always about sex, either. It's about validation. It's about feeling like someone truly sees you, not just as a partner, but as an individual with your own needs, fears, and desires. When that validation is missing, people can feel like they're in a relationship but still lonely. And that's when they might seek connection elsewhere. The pressure of social media and unrealistic expectations. Now, We live in a world that's constantly on display. Social media has created this highlight reel of perfect relationships. You scroll through Instagram and see couples living their best lives, sharing their adventures, their love, their happiness, and suddenly, your own relationship feels lacking. The pressure to keep up with that perfect image can create a disconnect. You start comparing your real-life relationship to someone else's filtered version, and before you know it, you're dissatisfied with your partner and even yourself. And this isn't just about appearances, it's also about the constant bombardment of temptation. Social media opens up easy access to flirtation and validation from strangers. It's a dangerous, seductive game, and if communication isn't strong, it can easily escalate into something more. Emotional unmet needs and low self-esteem. Let's dig into emotional needs for a moment. When we're not feeling emotionally fulfilled in our relationship, we might seek that fulfillment somewhere else. It's not always about physical attraction. It's often about seeking validation, reassurance, and affection that we're not receiving from our partner. For some people, past trauma or a history of neglect makes them more susceptible to seeking that external validation. If you've struggled with insecurity or low self-esteem, it can make the need for outside affirmation even more intense. It's not just about cheating, it's about filling a void that hasn't been addressed in the relationship. The role of communication, or lack thereof. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, communication. Or rather, the lack of it. This is the #1 factor in why infidelity happens. When you're not communicating openly with your partner about your needs, desires, and even your fears, you're creating a space where confusion and frustration can grow. And when we're frustrated, we're more likely to make impulsive decisions. Resentment builds up, and eventually, that can spill over into a search for comfort or affection somewhere else. Situational temptations and opportunities. And then there are the situational factors, the things that, while not causing infidelity directly, definitely create the environment where it can thrive. For example, working closely with someone you're attracted to or spending long hours chatting with someone online. These moments don't cause cheating, but they definitely make it easier to cross the line. The temptation is real, and without strong boundaries, it's easy to slip. Real story. The emotional impact of infidelity. I want to share a real-life story with you that illustrates just how deeply infidelity affects everyone involved. Meet Sarah and Mike. They had been together for 5 years, and on the surface, everything seemed fine. But Mike started an affair with a coworker. At first, it was harmless flirtation, but soon it escalated into something much deeper. Sarah had no idea. When she found out, she was devastated. Her world was flipped upside down. The betrayal not only destroyed their relationship but also impacted their families, friends, and even coworkers. Mike's actions had a ripple effect that no one could have predicted. This is the emotional cost of infidelity, the guilt, the shame, the heartbreak. It's not just one person who suffers. It's everyone involved. And even when the relationship ends, the emotional scars can last for years. Conclusion. Understanding, not blaming. So, in conclusion, infidelity is a complex issue, and there's no simple answer to why it happens. But by understanding the real reasons behind it, emotional disconnection, unmet needs, low self-esteem, communication breakdowns, and even external temptations, we can start to address the root causes and make our relationships stronger. We can't control everything, but we can work together to create a foundation of trust, communication, and emotional connection that makes infidelity less likely. I'd love to hear from you. What do you think are the real reasons behind infidelity? Have you experienced it firsthand, or do you have thoughts on how to prevent it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's get a conversation going. And if you're interested in learning more about how to build stronger trust and communication in relationships, be sure to check out my next video. It's a must-watch for anyone who wants to build deeper, more lasting connections. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.